So we're about halfway through the 2026 NBA season, All-Star break, trade deadline right around the corner, and I feel like it's a perfect time to put a letter grade on how every team has performed so far this year. And this isn't just going to be straight off wins and losses. I'm also going to take into account expectations going into the year. Were you expected to win 25 games this year and you're close to maybe even achieving that goal? So yeah, each team is going to be looked at a little bit differently, and let's get into this. Like always, if you do agree or disagree with anything that I say here, especially for your favorite team, please let me know why down below. Drop a thumbs up if you guys do enjoy these videos. Let's get into it. So shout out to Hoop Goat. I'm using this tier list for this video. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. I'm only dropping this into A, B, C, D, and F. We're not going to complicate things with like a C minus, B plus going forward. And we're going to start off with the New York Knicks here. So the New York Knicks, I think so far this season has probably been a B for New York. The Knicks right now are the 8th ranked team in terms of net rating. They're the 17th defensive rating and 3rd in offensive rating. And I don't know how many teams I'm going to throw in the A tier and the B tier. I don't think I want to throw too many teams in the A tier. Maybe just winning the NBA Cup alone should throw you in A. The Knicks are 25-14 the moment I'm recording this. They haven't looked great after winning the NBA Cup. Their defense has taken a massive hit. They're a bottom 5 defensive team over the last few weeks as well. They've had some injuries this year, nothing crazy. They recently just got back Josh Hart. I expect them to make some type of trade at the deadline. It's still like a trial and error period with Mike Brown throughout his first 40-ish games as the New York Knicks head coach post Tom Thibodeau, but it feels like they're going to get multiple All-Stars. Jalen Brunson is still playing at a top 10 level in the league. They still have a path to win the Eastern Conference this year and go to the NBA Finals. New year, new cheeks. Your butt called, and its resolution is to finally level up. Dude wipes are the new year glow up your dry toilet paper could never give you. And I've used Dude Wipes for a while now, so I'm glad to say that they are sponsoring today's video. And these bad boys are XL, extra wet, and built for business. And you just want to make that part of your life just a little bit more comfortable. Dude Wipes also has flavors like shea butter, mint chill, and herbal relief. I also like that there's packs of them as well if you want to use them on the road, maybe at the gym, or maybe you're on a road trip as well. Like that's where these can come in handy. And they're 100% plant-based, flushable, and made in the USA. It's a new year. Stop skidding through life and join the Dude Wipes movement with the link in the description. You can get your Dude Wipes. Don't be an a-hole to your b-hole and upgrade to Dude Wipes today. It's available on Amazon and other retailers nationwide. So like I said, link in the description, link in the pinned comment below, and thank you again to Dude Wipes for sponsoring today's video. But I don't think this season like warrants an A, especially if I'm only going to throw like 5 or 6 teams in that A tier. I would say if the Knicks were like by far and away the 1 seed, maybe if they were like what last year's Cavs team was right now, I could throw them in A, but I don't think anything's changed too much. You can honestly even say they're in C. We'll see how that's going to look by the end of it. Milwaukee, I'm throwing them in the F tier. I haven't really been that impressed so far for the Milwaukee Bucks. I've talked kind of ad nauseum that I think they should actually go in the other direction of what they're probably going to go in the deadline. I think they should sell. I think that they should trade away Giannis Antetokounmpo. And if you're not going to do that, maybe look to sell Kyle Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr., Bobby Portis, and reshuffle this roster for the 2027 season. Try to get yourself a top 10 pick in this draft as well. They're 22nd in the NBA in terms of net rating. They're horrible when Giannis isn't on the court. Giannis just played for them against the Denver Nuggets. It's like C team, lost to them. They lost by 30 points to the Minnesota Timberwolves that didn't have Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks didn't have Miles Turner in that game, but you were at home. Can I get one impressive win from you guys this season? They are one of the worst offensive teams in the Eastern Conference. I think, honestly, from what I've seen throughout their first 40 games, they should trade away Giannis Antetokounmpo at the deadline because I think they are so far and away from contention. If this team trades for like Miles Bridges, Jeremy Grant, maybe John Moran at the deadline, I would honestly like that even less for them going forward, and I think I would just be really upset. I feel like we're just delaying the inevitable. Yes, I want Giannis to sign an extension, but I think when we get there, I'd rather this team have their 2031 first, have a top 10 pick in a very good 2026 draft as well. So I do think Milwaukee's off to an F start this year. Obviously, if they were a top 6 seed, I would say that maybe it's like a C or a B, but I've seen nothing from them that makes me think they're going to make it to the conference finals this year. Miles Turner hasn't really gone as to plan so far. Houston, I don't know. I think I'm going to throw Houston in B right now. I don't feel great about that one though, because Houston over the last few weeks has not looked like a top team in the NBA. They are still ranked 2nd in net rating overall across all 30 teams, which is still insanely impressive. They're 23-14 in a tough Western Conference. They have the 4th ranked offense, 10th ranked defense. They've had some bad losses as of late to the Sacramento Kings and to the Portland Trailblazers. They lost to Dallas recently as well. They got off to one of the better starts this season, but I feel like as of late, maybe over the last 2 or so weeks, they've been kind of like around the D tier. So I'm going to throw them in B. I don't think it's gone horribly wrong. I think you're happy with how Reed Shepherd has looked. Definitely happy with how Kevin Durant has looked going forward. We'll see if they can be healthy going forward, because it does suck that Fred VanVleet is most likely going to be out for the year. I wonder if they're going to make a trade this year at the deadline as well. For the Pelicans, it's probably an F. The Pelicans have right now the worst record in the NBA, and they don't own their first round pick as well. So I thought since they didn't own their first round pick, they were going to be at least somewhat decent this year and finish close to 500. That has not been the case whatsoever. Willie Green went 2-10 throughout his first 12 games and then got fired. I like James Borrego as the long-term coach. I said that when they made him the interim head coach back when Green got fired. They're the 26th team in terms of net rating right now. They're a bottom 3 defense. They're a bottom 6 offense. They've been fun at times. Like, I've enjoyed Derek Queen. I've enjoyed Jeremiah Fears. Right now, knock on wood, Zion Williamson has been healthy and has been playing some good basketball. I do wonder how many Pelicans will get traded at the deadline. Sadiq Bey, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, maybe Trey Murphy. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited about the future with Fears and Queen, maybe Zion, maybe Trey Murphy going forward. It just kind of stinks when you have the worst record in the NBA, about 40 games in, and you don't own your first round pick. For the Detroit Pistons, this is an easy A. The Detroit Pistons have been the best team in the Eastern Conference this season, and they've been probably the most entertaining team to watch in the Eastern Conference this year. They're 4th in net rating. They're 2nd in defensive rating. Their defense has been unreal this year with Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, and maybe the most underrated defender in the NBA, Isaiah Stewart. Cade Cunningham is definitely going to be an all-star starter this year. Jalen Duren has broken out at the center position. We're getting fun breakouts like Danish Jenkins on this team as well. They're the 11th ranked offense. I also wonder if they're going to make a move maybe on the offensive end of the court to upgrade somewhere at the deadline. We'll wait and see. I don't think they really need to make a trade. I think they're getting Jaden Ivey back ramped up, and hopefully he can take a stride in the second half of the season. But this team had a hard-fought series against New York last year in round number 1. They're off to a 28-10 start this year. They've looked like the best team in the Eastern Conference. I don't think that like Vegas will think that they're the favorites just because we got to see them get to the conference finals before, right? Like, it's only been one playoff series with this core. And how does the offense look if Cade ever gets injured or if Cade gets into foul trouble? Either way, though, the Pistons have definitely been the best team in the East, exceeding expectations. A lot of people had them in like that 4 to 7 range going into the year, and they've been the best team in the East, so they're definitely an A. The Orlando Magic, I don't want to drop them down to a D. There's a chance I could throw them in C by the end of this, but I think you got to be a little bit underwhelmed so far watching the Orlando Magic this year. They're 15th in the NBA in terms of net rating. The defense last year, which was one of the best in the league, it was ranked 2nd last year, is down to 13th this year. Their league average offensively, yes, they're 22-18, but in a weaker Eastern Conference. They've had some bad losses recently as well. They've lost to the Chicago Bulls by 7, the Washington Wizards by 8. They had a non-competitive game against the 76ers. They lost by 15 to the Charlotte Hornets. They've gone blown out by the Golden State Warriors. And the thing I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for, it's kind of like a new offense, right? With Desmond Bane into the fold, and everybody's kind of been hurt this year. Paulo's been hurt. Franz has been hurt. Jalen Suggs has been hurt again. And we may never even see like Anthony Black, Franz Wagner, and Paolo Banchero play together for a while this year, which is a damn shame. But I do think since Orlando was kind of looked at as like that offseason darling, that offseason champions, me included, I thought they were going to be a lock to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And they still can. I've been disappointed with them so far. I don't think their season is over by any means. I wonder if they're also going to make a move at the deadline as well. It's just, I want to see this team healthy. Paolo's been disappointing, but Anthony Black has been a true breakout player this year in a way. The Washington Wizards, I'm going to throw them in a C. I don't think this season probably warrants, maybe you'll put them as a B. They just traded for Trae Young, but Trae Young is probably not going to play that much this season. I think this season has pretty much gone as expected. They're 10-28, 14th in the Eastern Conference. They don't want to get anywhere close to potentially giving up their first round pick to the New York Knicks. And they've gotten some nice breakouts this year from Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George, and I'm excited to see what this team looks like with Trae Young down the stretch. I wonder if Brian Keefe is going to be coaching this team next year. Nobody expected them to make the playoffs this year, given that their pick was top 8 protected. It's a very young core moving forward. So yeah, I think just pretty much where their expectations were, they're at right now, and I think they're fine with it. I'm throwing them in C. San Antonio, they've been kind of sliding a little bit as of late, but I think I'm going to throw them into the A tier. They beat OKC 3 times. They did just lose to them on Tuesday. And San Antonio's having a little bit of a hangover after making it to the NBA Cup finale as well. They haven't looked as strong over the last few weeks, but they're still the 3rd ranked defensive team, 7th in net rating, 9th in offensive rating. Wemby looks like a top 5 player in the sport, and if he hit the 65 game threshold, would easily be the defensive player of the year. I've liked the flashes I've seen from Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, even though they've been a little bit inconsistent over the last few weeks. I would like for De'Aaron Fox to be better. I think Keldon Johnson has been the sixth man of the year. I think they could also make a move at the deadline as well to be a little bit more intimidating and deep, and maybe find an upgrade over Harrison Barnes for the playoffs as well. I mean, this is still an insanely young team that hasn't made it to the playoffs in a while. So the fact that they're 27-13 this year, looking like one of the best teams in the Western Conference, I'm throwing them in the A tier. For the Dallas Mavericks, do I throw them in F? Maybe. I think I have to, and it's just a damn shame what's happened with Anthony Davis. So they fired Nico Harrison earlier in the year. Cooper Flagg got off to a slower start, as you would expect from somebody that's 18 years old, that's going to have like the second highest usage on the team. They've only gone 3.5 quarters, basically, or 2.5 quarters post Luka Doncic trade, which is really disappointing. Anthony Davis has gotten hurt multiple times this year. He had the eye injury going in. He's had a calf injury, an Achilles scare, and now he's got a hand injury, which now he's going to miss a little bit of time going forward. They're the 24th ranked team in terms of net rating this year. They are a top 10 defensive team. They're 28th in offense. They're most likely going to sell at the deadline. They're going to try to trade Anthony Davis. They're going to maybe sell off Najee Marshall. They're maybe going to see if they could trade away Daniel Gafford as well. They're going to be tanking in the second half. I think we talked ourselves into Dallas potentially being like the 7th seed in the West. You get Kyrie Irving back, and now we're exciting towards the end of the season. It's not going to plan, and it feels like we're about to enter into a new era of Dallas Mavericks basketball. I might bump them up to D. We'll see. Philadelphia. A part of me wants to put them in A. I'm going to throw them in the B tier right now, but I think I could slide them up into A by the end of this. They're 22-16 right now. The minutes in which Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey have all been out there, they've been phenomenal. They've looked like one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. They're 22-16. Now, they're not top 10 in terms of defensive rating, offensive rating, or net rating, but the fact that Embiid looks great again has to get you so excited, and how good VJ Edgecombe looks as well. We thought Philadelphia could maybe finish around 500, and maybe they do, but I think so far at the midway point, you got to be thrilled right now. If you're a Sixers fan, I wonder if they're going to make a trade at the deadline in terms of like trading away Quentin Grimes, who could be a free agent at the end of the year. Can we get Paul George to be healthy in the second half? Maxey looks like a top 12-ish player in the NBA right now. And yeah, the sky's the limit for VJ Edgecombe in Philadelphia. So I'm throwing Philadelphia in that B tier. Phoenix, yeah, this one's an A. I have to throw Phoenix in that A tier right now. We didn't really have high expectations, or at least I didn't have high expectations for Phoenix going into this year. I thought they were going to lose 50+ games, and boy, do I look wrong. And shout out to the Suns defense, man. They're 8th in the NBA in terms of defensive rating. They're 13th in offensive rating, 9th in net rating in a tough Western Conference. They're 24-16, like right next to the Houston Rockets, and they sent them Kevin Durant. Colin Gillespie looks phenomenal this year as a breakout player. Dylan Brooks has been great. Like, they're 24-16 with Jalen Green just playing 2 games for them going forward. Jordan Ott has gotten the most out of this Phoenix Suns team on both ends of the floor, and I'm really excited to see how they look at full strength moving forward as well. I'm excited to see more, hopefully, of the rookie class in the second half of the season. I think Ryan Dunn and Iguodala, the sophomore class, has given them some solid minutes this year. Grayson Allen has stepped up offensively, and Devin Booker has been what they needed him to be. This is maybe the best possible outcome for the Phoenix Suns this season. Throwing them in A. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics. I mean, I kind of want to throw the Celtics season in the A tier as well. Maybe I'll end up dropping them to B by the end of this, but they're 3rd right now in terms of net rating. They're 14th in defensive rating, and they're 2nd in offensive rating without Jason Tatum. Number 2 in offense without a top 5 player in the league who might even come back this year. Jaylen Brown has looked phenomenal as a number 1 option. Jordan Walsh and Hugo Gonzalez are these great defensive wings that can rebound coming off the bench. Neemias Queta, serviceable big. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard got off to slower starts, really finding their strides as of late. Simons has had his moments. Josh Minot's had his moments. Luka Garza's had his moments as well. The Celtics are 24-15. They could be the 2 seed by the end of the season with no Jason Tatum, with like rotational centers there at the 5 spot. I think this one's an easy A as well. Next up, we have the Portland Trailblazers. I could throw them in D, to be honest with you, but I think I'm actually going to bump them up to C, just because they've had so many injuries this year. We knew that Damian Lillard was not going to play at all this year, but Denny Avdija recently dealing with a back issue. Drew Holiday's missed a decent amount of time this year. We haven't seen Scoot Henderson play a single game this year because of the hamstring injury. Chris Murray, Blake Wesley, Matisse Thybulle, Jeremy Grant with Achilles soreness has been hurt for a little bit now as well. Donovan Clingan has missed about 4 games this year. They're relying on guys like Caleb Love, Sidy Sissoko, and Ryan Rupert. I think think Robert Williams has looked good for them, but he's also missed 13 games. So the fact that they're the 9th seed, and I think this might be the lowest they finish all year, maybe the Clippers end up passing them. They're 21st in net rating. They're only going to get better, hopefully, as they get healthier throughout the second half of the year as well. And it also didn't help that their head coach, after like their first game of the year, Chauncey Billups, got arrested. So I think with all things considered, this season, maybe right around 500 is where they finish. And honestly, that's kind of where I expected them going into this year. So I'm going to keep them in that C tier. I mean, for Indiana, I might throw them in F just because they're kind of like maybe similar to the Dallas Mavericks in a way. We thought they could overachieve, or maybe at least be competitive with no Tyrese Halliburton and no Miles Turner. I was lower on them. I did not think they were going to make the play-in tournament whatsoever. Did I think that they were going to have like the worst or tied for the worst record on January 15th? No, I did not. So maybe right now I'm going to throw them in that F tier. Obviously, they don't really care anymore because they do own their first round pick. Halliburton wasn't going to play a single minute, which basically eliminated their chances at winning an NBA Finals this year. They kind of want to just see what they can get out of the young guys. Mathurin, before he's a restricted free agent, before they trade him. Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd, Johnny Fairfies, anybody going to emerge this year. We've seen a little bit of like a Ray J. Dennis, Micah Potter, Ethan Thompson, Quentin Jackson, like those guys have come and gone this year. Will Tillion Peter, Cam Jones show anything in the second half as well? I mean, they're 9-31. They're just hoping they land AJ DeBanzo or Darren Peterson in the draft. I'm going to throw it in F. I might end up bumping them up to B by the end of it. For Golden State, I think I'm going to, do I throw them in C or D? This one is tough for Golden State. I think I'm going to throw them in C with a chance I drop them to D. I would love to keep this symmetrical, or basically even, and have 6 teams in each tier. The Warriors right now are 22-19. They're 10th in the NBA in terms of net rating, 7th in defensive rating, 16th in offensive rating. Right now, they haven't traded Jonathan Kuminga. By the time you guys see this video, who knows? Maybe Jonathan Kuminga is a Brooklyn Net or is on a different team at this point. That's just the next domino that's going to fall. They need that secondary shot creator if Jimmy's not on next to Steph, or a tertiary shot creator, and that could end up being somebody like Michael Porter Jr. or Trey Murphy. I've enjoyed some of the D'Anthony Melton minutes as of late. Moses Moody has kind of been inconsistent at times, but is still a good 3-point shooter. Will Richard has definitely exceeded the value of somebody that was selected with the 56th overall pick in the 2025 draft, and they still have Steph Curry playing at honestly an MVP caliber level. There's been some fun Pat Spencer moments this year. I'm going to throw them in C. I didn't love the Warriors as like a top 5 seed. I didn't predict them to finish there. I thought it was going to be around like 6 through 9, and I still think they're maybe on track for that right now. Next up, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Ooh, I might throw them in that Orlando Magic tier, to be honest with you. You can maybe make an argument they should be in the F tier this year with their expectations going into the year. I personally liked Orlando more than Atlanta going into the year. They're not far apart from each other. Atlanta, unlike Orlando, is under 500. They're 20-22 right now. They're 18th in the NBA in terms of net rating, about league average defensively, a little bit below average offensively. They were 2-8 with Trae Young, or 2-10 with Trae Young this year, and they traded him for an expiring CJ McCollum contract and a role-playing shooter specialist in Corey Kispert this year at the deadline, but they're trying to revamp their identity going forward. Guys that could fight over screens, guys that could switch on anybody on the court on the defensive end and be more athletic, be more rangy, be more versatile defensively, because it just wasn't working out with Trae Young going forward. They're continuing to build around Jalen Johnson. If you want to bump this up a little bit because the Pelicans have been this bad and they might get a top 3 pick in the draft, sure. But given my expectations for them going into the year, potentially going like 50-32 this year, they have some work to do on that. We'll see how they look going forward with no Trae Young. They've been good defensively over the last 2 weeks. We'll see if they can continue that going forward into the trade deadline. Miami, Miami, I kind of want to throw in D, but I might throw them in C because I think they're pretty much evening out to where I thought they were going to be going into the year. Now, Miami gets off to this great start this year. They're kind of reinventing their identity as well, not running any pick and roll, a lot of isolation, a lot of cutting and slashing in that half court. And we're all raving about Spo as an offensive genius because he realized the limitations of this roster. Now, they're coming back down to earth a little bit, but they're still a top 5 defensive team in the NBA. They had a great win against the Phoenix Suns. Bam Adebayo has been pretty much disappointing over the last month, but looked great against Phoenix, especially in that fourth quarter. The Heat have been a little bit lackluster offensively with and without Tyler Hero. They're getting no production out of somebody making $26 million a year in Terry Rozier, who also, like Chauncey Billups, got arrested this year. They got Norman Powell for free, and he's been amazing for them, a borderline all-star. I am fascinated to see what Miami does this year at the deadline. They're 21-19 right now. They're 13th in net rating. Are they going to get aggressive, or do they realize we're not going to be competing for an Eastern Conference Finals? Let's not trade any future first round picks, and we'll see what other stars become available in the offseason. Or do they trade for somebody like Ja Morant, who apparently wants to end up in Miami? But yeah, I think this season has gone as expected for Miami. I'm going to throw them in C. For Brooklyn, I mean, I think this season has been as expected as well. I'm going to throw them in the C tier, and maybe that ends up changing down the line as well. Honestly, I could bump up Brooklyn to B just because they might actually get a really good return from Michael Porter Jr., who I thought 3 months ago had no trade value, and this was a negative contract, making about $40 million this year, $40 million next year, and nobody wanted to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But no, they might actually get like a young player and a nice draft pick for MPJ at the deadline. There was like a 3-week stretch in December where the Nets were like one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, which makes me just believe in Jordi Fernandez even more. They've gotten good flashes out of Drake Powell and Danny Wolf this year, but most importantly, Yegor Dorman, who's looked like a top 10 rookie this season, and he's shooting 39% from three as a rookie as well. We'll see if they trade away MPJ, if they trade away Cam Thomas, would they find somebody to overpay for like a Day'Ron Sharpe at the deadline as well. I've enjoyed some of the Noah Clowney minutes this year, although he's not been as efficient as of late. Nick Claxton could get traded as well. Who knows? The Nets are a fascinating team because they don't own their 2027 first round pick directly. It's a swap with Houston, so they have no reason to tank again next year. So I'll throw this as a C right now. Charlotte, oh man, kind of want to throw Charlotte in a C as well, which would be my last team. Maybe I might throw Charlotte in a B tier. You know what? Why not? I've enjoyed watching the Hornets this year, and maybe I need to reshuffle this later on, but the Hornets have been, I think, an equal level team as the Milwaukee Bucks, and they had no expectations this year whatsoever. Con Knippel looks like an absolute hit as the 4th overall pick in the 2025 draft. If the season ended today, Con would be my rookie of the year. I still think it's going to go to Cooper Flagg by year's end, but the Hornets have a top 10 offense in the league, and they look so much fun when Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Con Knippel, and even Moussa Diabate are all out there healthy at the same time. Tijan Solana's looked better as of late as well for this team as a 3-point shooter, as a complimentary guy in the corner. So you know what? I'm throwing the Hornets in B. Everybody has different expectations going into this year, and I've been pleasantly surprised watching Hornets basketball. Denver, I'm gonna throw Denver in A. I'm gonna throw Denver in A, especially since Nikola Jokic has been hurt. They're 5-3. Peyton Watson might win Most Improved Player. This guy has been unreal since Nikola Jokic got hurt. He was even outperforming what we thought he would be going into this year pre the Jokic injury. They're 27-13. They're 6th in net rating. They're number 1 in offensive rating, but Jokic, when he's out there, has been MVP Jokic yet again. Jamal Murray is going to be a first-time All-Star this season, and this is with Valanciunas hurt, but looked like a good backup big man to Jokic. Aaron Gordon was playing really good pre-injury. He recently came back. Cam Johnson's been somewhat disappointing, but I think he'll find his stride later in the year when he gets healthy again. And we got to see Christian Brown bounce back after a slower start this year. I think Denver is still the team that OKC is probably the most scared of in the Western Conference, and I think they could win the finals this year. I'm going to throw them in A, and I wonder how this is going to even out towards the end of it. But Minnesota, like, I low-key want to throw Minnesota in A as well. But that would be the 6th team, and I know I got to throw OKC in there as well. Screw it. I can be more positive than negative, right? So I'll throw maybe more than 6 teams in the A tier. Minnesota has been one of my favorite teams to watch as of late. They're the 4th seed right now in the Western Conference the moment I'm recording this. They are the number 1 team in terms of net rating and point differential in the month of January. Rudy Gobert could end up winning another Defensive Player of the Year award. Nasri, Dante DiVincenzo, the guys they need them to be off the bench. Jaden McDaniels, great two-way player. Julius Randle, all-star level talent this year, and Anthony Edwards has been playing like an all-NBA first team guy this year for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Bones Highland has given them some really good minutes off the bench, outperforming Rob Dillingham. They could make a trade as well with Dillingham and Conley and some of that matching salary as well. And I enjoyed Johan Baranjay's minutes when Rudy Gobert was suspended against Milwaukee on Tuesday. So you know what? I'm throwing Minnesota in A. I think they could be maybe the 3rd best team in the Western Conference by year's end. Now I got to talk about OKC. I'm going to throw them in A. So I wonder if I'll drop one of these teams by the end of it. Like, OKC would have been like in an A+ tier before their recent skid. Like when they lost to the Charlotte Hornets after being 15.5-point favorites, I was like, okay, maybe they are beatable this year, but they're the number 1 defensive team, number 1 team in net rating, number 1 record in the NBA. They're 34-7. They're the 5th ranked offensive team. They've had their fair share of injuries this year. J-Dub in the first half this year, and Isaiah Hartenstein as of late. Wiggins, Chet, Caruso, Jay Will have all missed some time this year for OKC. I still think that Shea will probably be the MVP by year's end, especially if Jokic misses a little bit too much time, as Shea has only missed 2 games this year, and they're still the team to beat in the NBA. So I'm going to throw them in A. I wonder if I'm going to bump anybody down by the end of this. Like, maybe I bump down San Antonio, maybe I bump down Denver or Boston, I would say, going forward. Maybe I bump down Minnesota, you could say, moving forward. Cleveland, that's a D tier team as well. Yeah, Cleveland does not look like the same team they were last year. Last year, throughout all 82 games, they lost 18 games. They went 64-18. This year, they're already 22-19 the moment I'm recording this. Their defense has not been great. It's about league average, and their offense hasn't been the best in the NBA like it was last year. I don't know if that's a Ty Jerome thing. I don't know if that's because they've had some fair share of injuries this year as well. Maybe Max Strus was the guy keeping this team alive last year because he is yet to play this year for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I haven't really loved the Craig Porter Jr., Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland 3-guard lineups out there as of late. DeAndre Hunter has been thrown in trade talks. He's been disappointing this year. Evan Mobley's been good. He hasn't leveled up that we thought he could going into year number 5. So yeah, Cleveland does not look like maybe the odds-on favorite like they were last year. They're still a good team. I still think they'll be a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference, throwing them in D. They're going to be joined by the Chicago Bulls. I mean, the Bulls have definitely exceeded a little bit of expectations. That's not a good thing. And I know the Bulls fans are sick of it as much as I am. This team should not try to be league average anymore. They do not need to be in the play-in tournament. They need to get a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. Giddey's been good. Buzelis has been good. Trey Jones has been so much fun to watch as of late. But I need this team to bottom out just a little bit. Just 1 year. Just 1 year, tank this year, get a top 3 pick. You never have to do it again, Jerry Reinsdorf. This draft is too top heavy at the top. There's way too many question marks about the 2027 draft. This is your chance to hopefully maximize your lottery odds. Trade away some of your expiring contracts. Heck, if you want to trade Kobe White, Zach Collins, and Kevin Huerter for Anthony Davis, go out and do it. AD will not play a single minute for you throughout the rest of the year. You'll hopefully land a top pick in the draft. And now we have Giddey, Buzelis, Anthony Davis, and that first round pick moving forward as well. I've been so disappointed in Patrick Williams this year. He's been one of the worst rotational players in the league, but we have Giddey to build around. We have Buzelis to build around. Maybe they keep Kobe White. Maybe they don't. They probably shouldn't. They should trade away him, Dosunmu, and Vucevic this year at the deadline. I'm throwing them in D. Memphis could be a C, but I think I'm going to throw Memphis in D as well. I don't know. It's just been a weird Memphis year. They're actually better than I thought. They're 17-22 right now. They're 19th in net rating, but they might have to trade away Ja Morant because Shams Charania reported that for the first time since drafting Ja Morant, they're actually open to trade discussions for their franchise point guard. Ja Morant this year has been pretty bad. 40% from the field, 20% from 3, 19 points, 3.5 turnovers a night, and has missed over 20 games this year. Yet again, he was injured last year. Zach Edey looked so good when he was healthy at the start of the year in 11 games, 13 points, 11 rebounds. But now the injuries that we were concerned with pre-draft are starting to flare up again. Cedric Howard has been great. Cam Spencer has been great. A little bit disappointed at times, I would say, in like a Jaren Jackson Jr. or Jalen Wells or Santi Aldama this year. I feel like this team might look a little bit different in the second half. Maybe they sell high on like a Jock Landale or somebody like that. I'm throwing them in D. Sacramento, yeah, this is an F. But what's funny here is because like Indiana, Sacramento, and Dallas at least all have their first round pick. New Orleans and Milwaukee, they're in this weird swap dynamic right now with Atlanta. At least Milwaukee actually will get a first round pick. New Orleans will not this year. Sacramento, 29th in net rating. What I'm even somehow more puzzled by, 30th in offensive rating. That was supposed to be your bread and butter this year. Now, I know Domantas Sabonis has been hurt. I know Keegan Murray has been hurt at the beginning of the year and recently got hurt again. But why is Russell Westbrook at 37 years old your best player? It's just disappointing. I know DeRozan tries every night. I know LaVine mostly tries every night on offense. These guys, maybe not the best defenders in the world. I expect them to sell off like Malik Monk, Dennis Schroeder, DeRozan, LaVine, Sabonis, that they could find suitors at the deadline. Keon Ellis's value has kind of plummeted this year as well. I like Maxime Raynell. I like a little bit from what I've seen from Nick Clifford this year. I like, obviously, Keegan Murray long-term. This team is going to look very different over the next few weeks. But yeah, I thought they could be in the play-in tournament this year. I thought they can go 40-42. They're not even going to get close to that, which is probably a good thing, which is actually really a good thing. So if we're saying we're promoting tanking and where they should look going forward, they're an A team, but I've not liked Doug Christie as their coach, and the season has been borderline a disaster. They're going in D. Toronto, like, do I throw them in B? I'm fine with that. I like Toronto more than most preseason, and they're the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. They're 24-17. They're 14th in net rating, so I think that's just more of like, okay, the East isn't great, but they're 6th in defensive rating. One of my bold predictions this year was going to be that they finish top 7 in defensive rating. It's looking good on pace. 19th in offensive rating right now. They've had a little bit of injuries this year, most notably to Jakob Poeltl, and this team doesn't have much center help at all on this roster. So Scotty Barnes and Conor Boyles have had to step up at times as like a small ball 5, and they've rose to those occasions. RJ Barrett's been good when he's been healthy. He missed a little bit of time. Brandon Ingram has been very good for this team as well. Quickly's probably been like the big disappointment here, him or Jakob Poeltl. And they're going to try to move those guys at the deadline if they can for maybe like an Anthony Davis or Domantas Sabonis or somebody like that. I feel good about throwing them in B tier. The Clippers, I mean, they're coming alive as of late. but I gotta throw them in the D tier. Like, they were 6-21 at one point. They have been very good as of late. They're 10-2 in their last 12. They're 20th in net rating right now, but we know they didn't own their first round pick going into the year. That was going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kawhi and Harden, for the most part this year, have been healthy, which is a good thing. Zubac's missed a little bit of time. He's back. Derrick Jones Jr. has missed a lot of time this year, which is unfortunate. He's probably their best perimeter defender. I still think the Clippers are going to make the play-in tournament this year, but the fact that they started off 6-21 was like an F. Obviously, they're now 16-23, so I'm just gonna plop them in D. I think they'll probably finish like here at the end of the year if they have like a round 1 exit. If the Clippers lose in round 1 as like an 8 seed, it's probably a D season. They were projected to win 50 games, and we thought they were like the 3rd best team in the West last year. Utah, I'm throwing them in C tier. They're joining the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, maybe this is the opposite of what I was saying about the Sacramento Kings. Maybe this team should be somewhat tanking this year going forward, just because this is maybe their last chance at getting a top pick in the NBA draft. The lottery has not been kind to them over the last few years, or honestly, in their franchise history. They're still the 3rd worst team in terms of net rating, with pretty much no Walker Kessler for most of the year. I mean, Keontae George, though, might end up winning most improved, so that's a positive this year. Lauri Markkanen has recouped all that trade value he had 3 years ago. That's a positive this year as well. I'd still like to see more Bryce Sensabaugh and Ace Bailey, Collier, Clayton, Cody Williams, who's been playing well as of late, and like Hendricks in the second half this year, because this team isn't good. They shouldn't try to be good. This should be the last time that they try to bottom out and try to make the play-in tournament next year. So I wonder if they could find any suitor for like Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, George Niang, Svi Mikhail, Nurkic at the deadline. It's a gross veteran core, but I think vibes have been better in Utah, besides them losing by like 50 to the Charlotte Hornets as of late. And we'll save the best for last, everybody's favorite team, the LA Lakers. Kind of want to throw them in C tier, which is weird because they're 24-14. Like, that is a good record. They're 16th in net rating right now, 24th in defensive rating, 7th in offensive rating. But like 16th in net rating, I can't take this team seriously as a conference finals contender right now. There's always the LeBron thing looming over them. Austin Reeves looked like a most improved player this year, but he's unfortunately missed a little bit of time. LeBron James is still giving them really good production at 41 years old. Aiden's had his moments this year, but what comes with the good is going to come with the bad. You have Rui Hachimura, Smart, Laravia. These guys have had their moments, have not had their moments this year as well. They haven't really gotten anything out of like Vando, Vincent, a little bit out of Delta Connect. So you know what? Just because they're kind of like overachieving to where I thought they could be, I'm going to actually throw them in B tier. So we don't have this perfectly even, but I'm going to say, you know, we're positive here on the channel for the most part. We're going to enjoy basketball. I'm going to have 7 teams in the A tier and only 5 teams in the F tier. So yeah, let me know what you guys disagree with or agree with down below. If you did enjoy this video, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.